So let me take you through the demonstration environment that I've got set up here and take you through some use cases of how this technology might be used. Over here I have a multitude of devices that you're going to see as we go through the demonstration. Now excuse me for being off screen at the moment, I'm sure you're going to want to look at this more than me because that's more interesting than I am, believe me. So over here on the left hand side what I actually have is a Sunray 2 device. Now remember I did say I can render any desktop to this particular device. What I've done with this device is I've said, okay, this simulates a secure environment inside an organisation. I want to lock down this screen, and the only way anyone can access this screen is with a secure identity card. Now the secure identity cards are the things like we use inside Sun. We have our pay on here to buy things, for example, like our food and drinks, also RFID for door access, etc. But more importantly, so the little chip that allows us access to these devices to actually get access to our desktop, which I'll show you in a second. And the nice thing about the identity products we also have within the software portfolio is we can actually do the automatic enablement, disablement, onboarding, offboarding of employees and enable these cards to give them access to these devices and the applications behind them, giving them single sign-on and password management around the life cycle of their involvement inside an organisation. So my card's been enabled because I've joined Sun and gives me access to the applications I need to as part of this demonstration. We'll look at that in a second, just to give you a flavour of some of the other devices you're going to see here. A Sunray laptop, which allows me to actually go out and get the same capability of a Sunray, i.e. no pre-installed OS, no disk, no operating system, as I say, no memory. A completely dumb device, but allows me to go out on the road rather than a fixed location, which the Sunray 2 is showing us here. This device over here simulates a PC that may be under my control, but it also may not be under my control. Maybe in a business lounge, maybe in an airport lounge, for example, where I want to have access to my desktop, but I don't actually have access to it. So we'll come back to that in a second. This is another Sunray device, a Sunray 270. This has a built-in screen. So here we can see this one is actually running in kiosk mode, as we call it. So showing a single application, which typically could be used, for example, in a public area for information. This happens to be an internet browser. This is how we use them inside Sun. So people can use them in public places, but as soon as I want access through my identity card, I can provision my desktop to it as well. So we'll have a look at that again, as I say, later on. And over here I have a PDA, just again to show the kind of flavour of devices that we can interact with this technology. And I'll give you an overview of the architecture as we get towards the end. When I put my card into here, it goes off to the data centre and says, okay, who's this guy that's put his card in, goes and authenticates my token, goes off to the data centre and says, what kind of desktop does this guy, Chris England, actually have? Brings back my desktop, which happens to be an XP desktop in this demo. We'll show lots of other desktops as the demo goes on. And it asks me for authentication, because obviously if I put my card down, I still want to be second factor authenticated to who I actually am. So I can simply put my password into the desktop that's been provisioned for me, my XP desktop, and again all the capability of my XP desktop is brought down for me to use. So again, just to show this is a real application, if I launch something like Internet Explorer, typical Windows applications that we'd see provisioned on an XP desktop, I can access all of that. Over in the middle here, I am actually running on a 3G router, again a very low speed network connection to show the kind of capability we actually have. So here's an Internet Explorer. I could of course run other Office productivity applications. I could obviously make advantage of the free open Office applications and Star Office, or I may still be using the Microsoft Office applications. So here, just to launch a few applications to show all of this is real. Let me start typing in some demonstration data. So we'll call this Demo 1, for example. Maybe I want to customize that, different look and feel, etc. So I'm running all of my desktop applications, but none of that is running on this device. Again, it's all provisioned, it's secure and safe in the data center. As soon as I remove my card, that device is locked back down because that's the policy I've put behind this particular device. So no one can gain access to that unless they have an identity card or some other token to gain access. As soon as I put my card back in, again it will go off, ask who is this guy who needs access to the device. It's Chris England, ask for my authentication. And as soon as I put my authentication in, my session is brought back from the data center where all the data and the session information has been kept secure away from the actual device. It is a Sunray laptop. There are many vendors who provide these different types of laptops. The interesting thing about this device, again, is not only is there no pre-installed OS, no pre-installed memory, etc. It is again a dumb device like the Sunray device. It also has no hard drive in there, so no information ever is kept on this laptop. So it gets around a lot of the security issues we see with stolen laptops today, is no data ever leaves the data center, it's kept secure. Now here I've decided, because on this particular Sunray device, I may have forgotten my card and I want to log on. So I've actually given myself a log on capability where I can still log into my desktop. We'll have a look at that later on when we get to the PC scenario, but for now, these devices do also provide an authentication mechanism using these cards. So as soon as I put my card in here, again it will go off to the data center, ask what is the desktop for Chris England, and again give me the logon for my desktop. This device happens to be doing it over wireless. They also support things like 3G, so it can give you that true roaming capability anywhere as long as you've got access to a 3G, GPRS or wireless network signal. So now that I've got my desktop provisioned, I can again put in my password. This is the interesting thing, trying to type upside down while you're being recorded as well. So here we go, press enter on that. And again, what we should see is my desktop is now provisioned back from the data center. So everything that you saw earlier, it has been maintained, is still secure in state and still ready for me to actually leverage here. So let me launch another application to show this is all real. There's all the data we saw before. Maybe I'm out doing a quotation with a customer and I need to actually put some financial data onto this particular environment. So I've launched an Excel spreadsheet here, and again I can put in some financial data, etc. So as soon as this card is removed or the laptop stolen, none of the data goes with the device. It's kept secure, maintained in the data center, and my session is still maintained as I keep on roaming. Simulating is actually a PC device that's not under my control. I may be going through an airport lounge, I might be travelling somewhere, I may not have a Sunray laptop, I may not have access to another Sunray device. This device is something that's not under my control whatsoever. But what it does have, it just has a Java-enabled web browser on there. So through a Java-enabled web browser I can still get access to my desktop anywhere. Again, this could be a PC at home if I don't have a Sunray at home. It could be a PC I've borrowed in a hotel. But again, something that's typically not under my control and doesn't have a card reader associated with it. Now, of course, we could support that, but this particular device doesn't have that. So using our secure desktop software, we can basically log into this browser, and I'm asked for my login authentication to actually access my particular desktop applications. Now the nice interesting feature here is as I log in, down the left hand side here, I can actually restrict what kind of applications I have access to when I'm roaming in somewhere on a machine out of my control. Maybe I only want to launch certain applications, but in this particular example I want to allow my user to have access to their full desktop. The advantage of this is we can just say only certain applications are allowed when roaming on machines out of our control. We can also do clever things like stopping users being able to copy data from the applications that are launched here onto local applications on the PC to still keep the data protected and secure. But in this particular example, we're saying this user has access to their full desktop. So I can select my full desktop, and what will happen is the desktop session that's been kept secure in the data center is now brought across to the device that is no longer under my control, that is someone else's device. But I can still carry on working with the same session that's provisionally secure in the data center. So maybe I want to launch another application, I'm just about to jump on a plane in the airport, want to do a quick quotation for Mr. Customer and write out a letter there before I get on the plane and hop on off. So all my applications are nice and secure. Let's say I'm going to go into a public location, I'm going to get off the plane, maybe turn up to a remote location where I actually have a Sunray in a public area for public use. So inside Sun we have these as internet kiosks in kiosk mode. People can use these freely, but as an employee I might arrive at my remote location after getting off the plane and want to carry on with my work on my session, so giving me that true session portability. Now normally of course I would have logged off this PC in this public area, but just to show you the true session portability I am actually going to leave it logged on. That would have caused timeout where I would have logged off. So again I can turn up at the public device running in kiosk mode, put in my card again, get re-authenticated once it's gone off to the data center and said what kind of session does Chris have. Chris has an XP session. And as soon as I'm actually authenticated, what we'll see is the session will be disconnected from where it actually is and brought across to the actual device over here. So we can see it's moved from over there, the device is no longer connected, and it will now be brought across from the PC device to the Sunray device in the public area so I can carry on working and doing my day-to-day work. Just to really show the true independence of the operating system as well, everything you've seen so far has been very Windows-centric. This particular user is a Unix administrator or uses some Unix applications. So when they put their card in, they get a Solaris desktop and they can log into their Solaris desktop and be authenticated in the typical manner. Now of course I could show you all the session portability across all those devices again logging in, but I'm not going to send you to sleep today doing that. But rest assured, again, I could show you all the same things I've just shown you with the Windows desktop with this Solaris desktop as well using this particular authentication card.